3. God met my three faces at a crossroad gristmill, wind pouring from a single nostril. If a ghost is holy, it must be alone in a space devoid of thought, where being is fuselage, in a triage of acceptable loss, in light pouring aimless through a cracked window kaleidoscope, pacing the room in ambling amputations, in gaze lowered softly to the cradling grave, where Whitman and Ginsberg and everyone have finally come and accepted one another. It must be love. Will you answer my letters I wrote only in thought? Legs that rise in meters, mornings bulge with muscle, tense and slackening in earthward pistons. Teeth ache and smiles remain intact beneath filmy skins, shedding more slowly than clock second hands, unable to be watched, for patience lack. Purchase me on a thrift store rack, in humble coat of untouched dust, for $1 and a bargain, for a smile and a glance. Purchase me with fingers gripped in my hair. Hurt me if you have a stomach to suffer retaliation. If you've a perpetual engine of forgiveness, somewhere behind your sunglasses and lipstick, applied in a dance club bathroom mirror, before and after saccharine alcohol shots. I'll see you in this herd of pilgrimage, your face so like the others, eyes so full of sadness. You are an oasis, and entirely alone. Heart of loss to carry on toward Mecca, always kneeling easterly, gaze unwavering through the padded gauze screen, and the noise of fucking and killing with impunity is hammering my ribcage with nonsense. Unquantifiable bleedings of an animal held by a dangling rope, unable to test its slack. Heart of meal and antimatter. Heart of frozen cataract. 2. Ball, headdress strewn with fluted strawbone fingers, and eye knots of dark stain mahogany. He whose name has no relevancy. Heart of media and ore, who may have been mighty by virtue of sex and war party sacrifice, by virtue of carven idol, placed at a tumorous elevation, is remembered as an afterthought between an ekphrastic morning sermon, delivered between ceremonial dunkings, a rumor of thistles pushed by invidious palm, and an afternoon of sidling room to room in the rhythmic murmur of largely meaningless music videos, peddling sideshow ego. Heart of balsamic and wormwood. Hands that grasp me by the machine pistol and tug at the roots, where nature is rendered into a psychologically bruised organ, asking for the correct conditions for arousal. Heart a-tremble with fragile parameters, with lunatic hope that you have a Babylonian fish in your ear, and something compatible that will make 10 or 15 minutes of your body heat sustain a comparative decade in lackluster plastic packaging. Heart of tesseract and flame. Are you God or one of my three faces? We meet at a deadlock standstill, each unable to push the other aside, unable to warm cold limbs, black from exposure, unable to embrace. Chessboard of orbital geometry, arrows sweeping into the fathoms, beneath your blouse and cunt. We stand, aching shoulders locked into pillories, as decades knock a slow freight train beside the bed. Closet hanging with clothes, too large, too small, and what currently fits is nothing that goes deeper than this. Page snow white, iris black with impotent rage. and I wail genius and miracles at your bored face. And I hate nothing besides myself, and what reminds me of me in you. And I plunge the waters of ice and cold and enlightenment into the rent cavities of my ragged, upturned palms. And I pause to take a piss before I walk the hall to what duty awaits. What's for dinner tonight? What was for dinner last night? I can't remember. And by some power that pours perpetually from absolute nothing, sustain, in tesseract and flame. 1. The God we know manifests from intent. My God must be loneliness, foetal posture in an unwombed void, though I know there is something beyond the glass, forgotten, sitting emptied of content, of ink, and your mercurial tenderness, denied, whimsical, with a child's evil, into a peripheral blur. Knowings I, necessary madness redact, deemed tertiary to function in this blue abyssal, baying for insatiable suckle in far-flung mists creeping like unperturbed godhead, form a hard kernel abscess, somewhere between longing hours, bundled into acceptable pill form, coated for distaste of tongue. Read away the silence, my voice fills up with experience from other. Watch something happening that isn't familiar tread in prison hamster circles, in pain that chisels me into something more symmetrical, some white-eyed bust we can loathe a bit less. Exercise, tear, and recover this flesh, praying in abstentia that structural bone withstands force and fracture. And I stand on the wreck of mistakes and won't bend to forge a crystalline star from shrapnel, sharp in my hip flexors, moaning with ignored complaint. Miles are mute beneath this well-tread mill. Silence is a god absent of tenderness, full up with holy, holy. Remember something, anything, that had roots in happiness, in the terror of trying something different, in being somewhere other. Pain is my weakness, that in youth was thought strength. Now, to lie in dust, making manageable piles into artisanal forms, is enough to pass an evening. Rank, file, column, serial and number, emptied of context, remnants of dreams, shoved into the corner of a sock drawer. Observed form, emptied of the bile that stills and cools, in a pressure release mantra, in the belly of some whale, denying its commanded purpose. And I am racked by the rankling brow that smooths itself by virtue of wisdoms amassed. Answer me everything with soothing, clinical imperfection. With hands raised on splayed knees, eyes stilled, in a lidded brow. Buddha laughing with me, always with me, and never derisive. Zoroaster calming winds with wave of palm. Nietzsche crackling with naked madness, dancing with lusting fire sway, intimate to my neurology. Thundering with Celsius absolute zero. Skeletal inertial grip upon this misted rocket ship. With absolute interlocking certainty. With everything. With the forehead eye of Zeno blinking at a midnight stoplight, which blinks back in companionable metronome. And I am wild, misbegotten sooth that bleeds from healed wounds in the hands, feet, in the drawn flank, pierced by wrought iron, and the needs of many, filling the coffers of few. And I am standing on the shoulders of allegory, strong, somehow, in all this heap of welded broken, babbling calmly in stream of memory, rise, in breath phantoms, of steam, and transorbital circumlocution. We have made the calculations, and everything checks out. Geometry, both Euclidean and analytic, concurs. We have a usable window. Jupiter and Saturn aligning in Aquarius, we can feel in Tesseract and Flame. We have liftoff. Love Poem, on theme by Whitman, by O Philos Su O Dracos.